All right. So good. I'm just taking a deep breath.
Are you doing okay, Craig?
Yes. Ask me that again about,
Yeah, absolutely.
about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Well, what inspired you? Let me interview you.
Okay.
What inspired you to do this?
Okay. Well, this will be good because if someone's just joining us, and I have my mic right
Okay.
here, so you're good. So yeah. So this is a national initiative that's called Conversations on a Bench.
Okay.
So it was first done at a rescue mission in Fresno in January.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And actually, the director at the mission in Pittsburgh joined him in January.
It gets cold in Fresno in the wintertime.
Yeah, it can as well. And so that's kind of sparked a kind of a national movement so that this year there are 70 executive directors, CEOs of rescue missions around the country that committed to sit on a bench in their community for the same 24 hours.
Okay.
Just to engage people in conversations around the topics of homelessness, addiction, and mental health.
Okay.
And so I think this would be a great idea because it's important to create the awareness that there's people in our community that have need. But it's also important to point out, like we just did with the person from Northern Valley, that there's people in our community working hard
Yes.
to make a difference.
Yes, they are.
You know, and so we want to really appreciate that. And it's live streamed around the country, and we have scheduled interviews like yourself,
Okay.
but then we are also taking walk-up interviews. And then people even have the opportunity on those social media apps to ask questions. So before we start talking, I'll just say right now we're running pretty decently on time. So if you want to step in and get one of those open slots for a walk-up interview, we would welcome you. It's conversations on a bench.
Yep.
It's not sermons on the bench. I always have to tell pastors that. It's not arguments on the bench.
No, we don't need that.
It's not debates on the bench.
No,
All right. It's
no.
conversations on the bench. And
Yeah.
a lot of these conversations I've had with individuals.
Yeah.
But this is an opportunity to have these conversations in a more public setting where people can hear because they can benefit from it.
Absolutely.
So that's why.
Craig, I just want to commend you for the difference that you are making in this community, in this area of homelessness, addiction. I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've just seen the impact that you're making in the ministry of Bridge Street Mission. So I want to commend you for your above and beyond to help people. We're in the people business, right?
That's true.
Yeah, that's what
Just
Jesus
the
was in the
impact that you're
people. He's
making.
in the people business still, and we join him in that.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yep.
There's a lot of people doing that hard work in our community.
Yes.
So let's talk about you a little bit.
Yeah.
So why don't we start? I think we actually came to town about the same time.
Yes, I think so.
So what you tell all of us what got you to Wausau? What brought you to Wausau?
Sure. So I was a pastor, a lead pastor in De Pere, Wisconsin for about 12 years. We in 2018 kind of came to a season of crisis where dealing with depression. I was so busy building my church, building my kingdom, that I was forgetting about my family. And man, it just kind of things came to a head, and I needed to step away from pastoring, and we took that leap of faith, and it's like God called us. Went through a season of healing, about 1.5 years of great marital counseling, and I think I'm a better man, I'm a better pastor, I know I'm a better husband than I used to be. And then God opened the doors for us to come to Wausau, and I knew that we were ready for ministry because my wife was kind of leading the charge, which was not the case before. And we came here in 2020, right on March 8th we were voted in. So on March 13th, our growth plan was to close the church, as did every other church, right into COVID.
Yeah. So the context for that, my family moved to Wausau in November of that same year.
Yep.
So we both kind of arrived in COVID times, which made Wausau seem a lot less friendly than it really is.
Yes, yes, it
because
did.
everyone did know what were the appropriate boundaries to have with people. And so I know when I first came to town, as I've done at other cities where I've gone, I try to see what God's doing throughout the city, and I go to a bunch of different churches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I do have to say, one of those churches I visited was Thrive. And of all the churches I visited during COVID, so I'm not trying to knock any churches,
Yep.
but they were the most, that was one of the few churches that embraced me, I think literally a couple times.
Yeah.
During that touchy area
Yeah.
time, that during COVID, I felt very welcomed at your church. That was my first exposure to you and your church.
Thank you for saying that. That's the kind of church we want to be. We want to be that way. Yeah. Thank you for saying that.
So, in one of our early conversations, it was about your church and its proximity to
Correct.
Community Partners
Yep.
campus.
Yep.
And this was also during the time that our board as an organization, we were trying to figure out what do we do with our growth needs. When we talked with Alan earlier, you found out we were feeding 130 people in a space for 48. And so we knew we had to grow. And so one of our thoughts was, well, if Thrive doesn't have a long-term plan to be in that space, maybe we should think about that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Now, obviously, that wasn't God's will, and that's not what happened. But you said something to me that I thought was so cool about your church. I'm not sure if you're remembering this. Is that when the Community Partners campus moved in next to you, your congregation wasn't thinking, oh no, we need to get away from this. You and your congregation were thinking, oh good, we're right in the middle of, of people in need.
Mm-hmm.
So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, like I said before, we're in the people business, and people are hurting, and if there's ever a time for the church to step up, and God has placed Thrive Church right where we are downtown for such a time as this, and so people need to be set free. People need the Lord in times like that, and so we definitely embraced it. I think at first there was a learning curve. We certainly embraced all of the programs that are at CPC. I think it took us a little while to adjust and learn how to connect and how to effectively minister to the people who were going to Catholic Charities. It took us a while to adjust, but I think that we have adapted. Mm-hmm. And I think we have learned a lot, and it starts with the hearts of the people. Mm-hmm. Just remembering that we're in ministry.
Yeah. So tell me how your church, and I can safely ask this question because I know a lot of the ways that your church is involved. Mm-hmm. But how is your church directly involved?
Remembering that we're in ministry.
So tell me how your church, as well as the physical needs of people who experience homelessness in our community.
Yeah, so really actively involved with the downtown mission where they're currently at the Methodist Church. The need came out, and we had one person, and you'll probably be interviewing Denise here a little bit later, but it started with a calling, and she's like, we've got to do something. And so I encouraged her to put together a team, and boy, that team came together. There was a lot of people who wanted to serve, and the need was there to provide meals and to just provide coverage for everything. I wasn't sure how long it was going to last, but it is thriving. We got a group of people, about 16 people who are there every Tuesday night, and I go periodically to just to hang with everybody, and it's not just. They're not going through the motions. They are connecting with people. And I think sometimes we forget those who are homeless, those who are hurting, those who are addicted. Those are people. Those are people. Those are souls. Those are people that Jesus loves, Jesus died for. And there's a group of people in our church that have just gravitated to this and are just going all in. And it's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah. Something else that I know your church is involved in, because there's been some overlap with us, is something that's called Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
So can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
So I truly have a heart for Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery is for people who are going through, and it's not just addictions. For those who don't know what it's about, it's people are just going through difficult times, hurts, habits, and hang-ups. So if you feel like you got one of those going on, that would be a great
That'd be
place.
like all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a gentleman in our church who had gone through a season of addiction himself and has quite a testimony, and wanted to give back and wanted to start a program, and not quite sure where to go. Well, I was very familiar from our last church about Celebrate Recovery. It is basically a Christian 12-step program, except they don't ignore God. They bring God right into the equation. Jesus is the answer. And so, I give all credit to this leader who just went all in and just started helping people. And it is a thriving ministry. People are coming in all the time and, learning, growing, being set free, being redeemed. I think I love that. I love seeing people who are coming in and they come into a church maybe some Sunday morning or come to Celebrate Recovery and their heads are down. They barely look you in the eye. And weeks later, there's a smile on their face, maybe a tear in their eye. That God is setting people free. And, we serve a God of redemption stories. And I love to see that. So I'm so excited to see that happening at our church.
For everyone's benefit, Celebrate Recovery is a very much a Christ-centered recovery program like AA.
Yes.
Throughout the country, very well organized, very well. And so the gentleman that he mentioned, I invited to the bench. I'm not sure if he's coming or not. I'd have to ask Christy with that.
Yeah.
But he's actually now in leadership on the state level.
Yes.
For
Yep.
Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah.
And so just so you know, and especially if anyone who is looking for a Christ-centered support group, I'm aware of 3 Celebrate Recoveries. I think there might be a 4th. So if you know the 4th one, let me know. But Monday night at Thrive,
Yes.
we have Celebrate Recovery.
5:30. Yep.
On Tuesday nights at Covenant Community Presbyterian Church, there's a Celebrate Recovery. Thursday nights, Bridge Street Mission does a Celebrate Recovery. Now, while we're waiting for our classroom to be finished in our new facility, that's being held at the Nazarene Church on First Avenue. And is there a 4th one that you're aware of?
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
Well, I know of those 3, and I apologize to the 4th one that I'm not remembering if I've left somebody out. But you can easily go to Celebrate Recovery website and kind of see a listing of when those are. So we use that as part of our core curriculum in our men's recovery center. And so the idea there is that while they're with us, they attend Celebrate Recovery. But then our hope is as they move out on their own, they also continue going to Celebrate Recovery, because that's what a support group is for. Plus, in Celebrate Recovery, there's a big need for what's called sponsors.
Yeah.
And pretty much a sponsor is someone who's farther along in the path of recovery.
Yeah.
And so you might be in recovery and you may think, I don't really need a support group now. But maybe you could be a part of one of these Celebrate Recoveries.
Yeah.
So you could be a sponsor for that. We especially see that in our men, the need to have sponsors through Celebrate Recovery. Now that brings me to another thing that your church has been involved in.
Okay.
That I want to commend you guys on and thank you for and talk about. So when men get to a certain phase of their recovery,
Yes.
it's part of their Genesis process, which is our relapse prevention program at the mission. When they get to process 6, they begin to identify support connections outside of the mission, because someday they're going to move out of the mission.
Yes.
And we want them to be successful without us holding their hand or depending on us. And this is a critical part of our curriculum. And I'm going to diverge just a little bit. The reason that's important is, number one, we have new people coming in. We'll always be overwhelmed with new people who need help.
Yep.
And so that reduces our time with those who are farther down the path. But we also have to realize when a person is in a place like Bridge Street Mission and Recovery, that represents a difficult time in their lives. And so when they move on into success, they don't always need a reminder about how hard life was. It's kind of like I've been to a hospital.
Yeah.
I've had surgery, and I've been treated really well. The nurses have been great to me. The doctors are great to me, and I'm thankful for that. But you usually don't find me hanging around at the hospital.
Yeah.
All right. That was a painful time in my life.
Yep.
I'm grateful for it, but now I've moved on to health.
Yeah.
And so for a person also maybe who comes to a place like the Mission, they're grateful for the impact that has happened in their life, but they want to move on and not hang with us. So if they're going to be successful, all their support can't be with us. It needs to be in the community. So when they get to process 6 in our relapse prevention, they're identifying 3 people, important people in their life. All right. One is a sponsor. So in other words, someone who's been in recovery longer than them. One is a church mentor, because church isn't just about spiritual. It's also about being connected to healthy people.
Community.
And community.
Yep.
And we want, and people who struggle with addiction, at least our experience has been that they tend to isolate, whether it's for shame or because they've been hurt in the past. They don't want to open themselves up to that trauma again in the future. And so, so we talk about them needing to be in healthy relationships with people. So we let them, as a non-denominational ministry, we don't have a list of churches they can go to. We let them to pick the church of their choice.
Yeah.
Okay? For that. And then the third thing is a family member. And they actually give these people a card, an accountability card that lists, hey, these are my triggers. These are the behaviors that you want to encourage in me. Here are the behaviors you want to challenge me on. This is what relapse looks like for me. And then they give that card to those 3 people in their lives to hold them accountable. Those who do that and take that serious are the ones that are successful.
Yeah.
But many of our guys, and this is why I'm going to bring it, have chosen Thrive Church as a church that they've attended and have found a mentor there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes.
And
Yes,
can
I
you
am.
comment on that connection with the Mission?
Well, we always want to, we communicate at most Sundays that, to our people who come, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome, you are accepted, and you are loved. And we really try to model that. And so when these guys come in, they're just finding instant connection. But there's guys in our church who are looking for them and who are developing that relationship. And they are hanging around Bridge Street Mission, and they are encouraging these guys. And so, like I said, we serve a God of redemption stories. And those are my favorite. I don't know about you, but those are my favorite stories. Yeah. And to see, again, some of those gentlemen who you said, maybe struggling with shame, not liking where they're at, but coming in and finding community, finding that love, acceptance, finding that peace of God, and let the Holy Spirit begin to work in their lives. And to see that smile come to their face, and all of a sudden now they're owning ministry, we just absolutely love it. We just absolutely love it.
I do have to tell you, on one of the Fridays when I do the Bible study with the guys, often I'm not as connected with the guys as the direct staff is in my role. And so I go up there, and often there'll be somebody new I haven't met yet. And so I'll go up, introduce myself, thank them, and everything like that. And there was a guy who I had met, and he looked familiar to me, but I met him at the breakfast when I came to that church that one day, because he was on that committee, that missions committee.
Yep.
And he just came in to sit in Bible study. Yeah. So I went up to him, and I thought he was a new guy in our program. And I just said, and he said, oh no, I'm just here visiting to see what happens. But that was very meaningful to the other guys at the Mission, that this person was interested in to a class that they're, quote, required to go through.
Yeah.
because they've committed to the men's recovery program, to have someone voluntarily come up there, and that was really powerful and meaningful. So we said that quite a bit. We see that from a lot of different churches, but definitely from Pride.
You know,
Church
at
as well.
our church, our strategy is to connect with God, grow together, and then serve your world. And I think that it comes from some people who have come into the church and they connect with God and they're growing together. But sometimes that can become a log jam in a church. You know what I mean? People just, I love this church. I love to come and receive. But we're challenging people to do something with it. That's where the real fulfillment, that's where the joy that maybe you're missing is in the serving. And I think that in the past few years, we've had some people who have taken that seriously and have begun to own that, and now are beginning to discover it. And so not only do we have men from Bridge Street Mission, but we have men in our church, men and women in our church who are just beaming, just glowing, and just, I have found my purpose. Our purpose is to know God and to make God known. And they've taken that seriously, and they have just gone to a whole nother level in their faith journey in this participation. And so it's exciting to see. I think a lot of my passion, it comes from growing up with a sister who struggled with addiction. Struggled with addiction. She struggled with addiction most of her life. Had went through a program and got help and was doing well. Married a former addict and they were doing well. And then he got released from his job and went back to his addiction. And her temptation was to go back to her addiction, and it got even worse to the point where she was living a homeless life. And I think I learned a lot from that. She unfortunately had passed away from a drug overdose, but I think maybe some of the things that I'm doing in our church or happening in a church stems from remembering that. And not wanting to see that again, not wanting to see that repeated. So I...
Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Yeah.
I see that, I see that it's amazing. And sometimes we just think a person struggling with addiction is impacting them.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And it obviously is.
Yes.
But it actually is impacting a square mile of people who love them and care for them. And know them. Whether it's their kids or parents or friends or brothers or sisters or spouses, and so that just spreads,
It sure does.
in that way. So we don't always think about that, but because you have to humanize a person, all right? And so often one of the challenges when we're housing men, all right, and doing for men, one of the temptations that people could have is, well, that's a man. He should go out and get a job. Why should I support you and give that man a free lunch? Well, it's really not that. And we've had to kind of frame that man is somebody's son. That man is somebody's spouse. That man is somebody's brother. And in a lot of cases, that man is somebody's father. And often if we are able to look at it that way, it kind of changes the perspective.
Sure
because
does.
There's families that are devastated when a person is struggling. We sometimes get inquiries from people, have you seen my daughter? Have you seen my father? We get a picture. Have we, so a person's struggle with addiction or homelessness is impacting their square mile of influence.
Sure, and when Catholic Charities moved next door to us, again, for some people it was a little overwhelming, not being used to that, maybe not having the experience that I grew up with, and even for myself, it's like, wow, this is a lot going on here, and I really felt like the Lord said, will you just go out and learn their name and just listen, hear their story. And so I would go up and I would introduce myself to them, and it wouldn't be long until they're sharing their story. And so many times our perspective has changed when we hear the story behind the story. You know, and now you have compassion, you have more empathy, and really have been trying to continue to practice that and encouraging that with our people. Just, take a step out. We're called to go, learn their name. You are a person, and hear their story. And it is so, like I said before, it is so exciting to see some people maybe a year or two ago where they were and where they are right now. And I think because of the love of Jesus and people not giving a hand out, but giving a hand up.
It's interesting you say that. Sometimes with our men, they can be discouraged.
Yes.
Because they look at, here's my situation now, and they look at yesterday, and they don't see progress.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to help them say, okay, don't compare yourself to yesterday or even last week. Where are you compared to 3 months ago?
Yes.
Where are you compared to 6 months? Where were you compared to a year ago?
Correct.
And all of a sudden, you say, wow, look at the change that's taken place. And so I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, so. People need encouragers, and they need people to remind them that there's hope.
Yes.
There is hope. Yeah.
Good. So I think as we wrap up, I just kind of want to say to the audience, if there's if you're in a church out there and you just feel like you're filling in a seat at the church,
Yes.
right? Hear what you heard Pastor Sheldon talk about, how that joy and energy comes from being involved.
Yes.
There's lots of ways you can be involved in your church, and guess what? There's ways you can be involved outside your church through whether it's Bridge Street Mission or one of these other organizations that you're going to meet on the bench today, and find out how you can get involved. So,
there's quickly here. There's been studies that have been done for people who are going through discouragement and depression, and one of the things that they have found is that when people will look beyond themselves to help others, it actually helps them.
Yeah.
It helps them, and so I try to encourage people with that, and I've seen it. It's true. It's true for my life. It's true for yours.
I have a volunteer at the mission that he's there 3 times a week. And like you said, wow, thank you so much for coming. He said, no, thank you.
Yes.
Always gets a tear in his mind.
Yep.
This is the highlight of my week.
Yes.
I love to do it. I get more out of this than they get out. Well, he's not being accurate.
Yeah.
But that's how he feels. And so, so a life that's given to others and service is a more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Greg, I appreciate
All right,
you.
Appreciate you coming.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes.